So I played all 3 Elder Scrolls games, the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, 4 Oblivion and 5 Skyrim, and now I talk about every single one and which things I specifically liked the best. In my last video I talked about 3 things that I think Morrowind did best, and now we're gonna talk about the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion and 3 things that absolutely in my opinion were great and I found the best in the entire series. So the first thing in my opinion that Oblivion did the best are the quests of the game. And what do I exactly mean by that? In my opinion, Oblivion has far more quest variety and just quality. It just feels like they put much more emphasis in the quests than they did in Morrowind or Skyrim. Oblivion really offers some of the most memorable and diverse quests in the series, and when I think about the things and quests I remember the most of those 3 games, I must say that Oblivion is simply at the top. You know, you have the main quests, and especially in my opinion the Oblivion gates that really add urgency to the story without kind of overshadowing the open world freedom that the game gives you. So you always have this almost this kind of emergency that you want to get on with the main quests because there is something important to do. But even the side quests, I have a couple of them in my mind, were really innovative and kind of engaging. But in my opinion what really made the quests of Oblivion stand out were the guild storylines of the factions like the Dark Brotherhood and the Thieves Guild, for example. Those quests were filled with twists, emotional depth and unique mechanics, and after my playthrough and my guild quest I looked at the internet to see whether the other ones are also as great, and I have to say that I'm so impressed on how much emphasis they put in those faction quests, because it's not like just, you know, go somewhere, do something and get back to the person that hired you in order to gain access to that quest. No, there are literal stories being told, and in my opinion far better stories than in Morrowind and Skyrim. So the quests of the game and the variety of those is definitely one thing that I liked more in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. The next thing that I absolutely loved in Oblivion, that I talked a lot about in my review of the game, are the cities of Oblivion. And I have to say, the cities of this game are some of the most distinct and memorable locations in the whole series, and with its own unique personality and culture. Obviously Oblivion has that high fantasy feel to it. We talked about that aspect a lot in my comparison, which game has the best open world, that Oblivion really has this kind of Lord of the Rings type high fantasy feel to it. It looks completely different to Morrowind especially, but the cities were really outstanding. You know, they really feel alive, I would say. Like you have Imperial City, for example, that serves as this majestic heart of the empire that sprawls with bustling markets and grand architecture, and just while roaming this city it just feels like a real place. And you have a lot of distinct and different cities. You have cities like Bravel, for example, which is really run down but full of character, I have to say. Or you have Anvil, which is a coastal kind of picturesque town that really feels very alive and immersive, while the Imperial City, for example, feels kind of more royal, more rich. It really features some great cities that have their own feel to it. And in my opinion, Oblivion really shines when it comes to the consistent effort to make each of those cities feel kind of unique, and that really contributes to the sense that we are traveling across a rich and varied world. I talked in my review that especially in the open world, you know, while you roam the forests or the normal roads, it kind of feels repetitive. There are some spots that you think I have seen already. However, the cities are very unique, and you don't really mix them together because they have those very unique feels to them. And when you compare the different cities to one another, I gotta say they have a completely different feeling. And the cities definitely, when it comes to the open world, while I talked about that Oblivion was not my favorite open world in those 3 games, when it comes to the cities, they definitely nailed it. And now the third thing that I absolutely loved in Oblivion is the dynamic NPC behavior. Oblivion introduced the so-called Radiant AI system, which gave NPCs routines like shopping, eating, working, and interacting with each other, which was completely new. Especially in Morrowind we didn't have that at all, and I think in my opinion that Skyrim also didn't manage to do that as well as Oblivion did. it really felt like the NPCs were living their own lives. Even when you just roam the open world, you can overhear some conversations that NPCs are having with each other, which occasionally lead to unexpected moments, and I think those dynamic AI systems really make this world feel much more alive, especially when you walk through the world and the NPCs react to what you're doing, or they have complete routines of what you're doing. Or also when you just compare the NPCs to Skyrim and Morrowind, they kind of feel more like real people, I would say. And even in the faction guild quests, the NPCs that you talk to are, you know, have so much depth to them, and a lot of just characters and NPCs that you meet have this depth to them that I wouldn't have expected to see from a game that is as old as Oblivion is. And while Skyrim definitely made a great job when it came to the NPCs, in my opinion Oblivion kind of laid the foundation, but I even adored those more. It really felt like those NPCs that we do have in the open world, well, they may not have been as many as in Skyrim for sure, but those that we did have really feel like they were kind of designed by one person who gave them a full routine, what they're doing, what they're eating, how they're working, and it really feels like the world is alive and doesn't need you to survive. And now I'm interested in hearing your top things that you liked in Oblivion more than you did in the other games. In my opinion, the quests and the cities and, as I said, the NPCs really are something where Oblivion shines. And when someone would ask me which game in your opinion has the best quests, I would probably say Oblivion without any doubt. Or which game had the best NPCs, I could also say that it is Oblivion, just because those things, while they may not have been as refined as in Skyrim, this base and this foundation, and it kind of felt to me as if they created some of those things with more love, if you know what I mean. And these elements really combined make Oblivion a great atmospheric and immersive experience. But as I said, I'm very interested in hearing about your thoughts on the best things about Oblivion. I'll be making my full review and comparison of those three games together, and which game I liked the most out of the three. But now we made Morrowind the top 3 things that I loved, Oblivion the 3 things that I loved more than in the other games, and obviously in the next couple of videos I'll be making a video about Skyrim and which 3 things I loved more in Skyrim than I did in other games. So feel free to subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss those videos. And as I said, tell me your opinions down in the comments and I'll be very happy to read those. Alright guys, that was it for me in today's video. I wish you all an amazing day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.